Wow. I wish I had my tripod.
Oh, I can get you footage of it at some point. So this, I think for your democracy one, I would read this one. It's a book about what do I have? First
Amazing.
Principles? There's another book called First Principles, which I really love.
It smells great in here.
Thank you. That might be the cat.
Right there, that one?
Okay, so these are about like the philosophical influences on the founders.
Great.
So this one's more the Stoics, and this is more classical virtue, but I think you'll really like that book.
Washington was obsessed with Pericles, right?
Washington's hero was Cato and Cincinnatus. So Cincinnatus is the guy that gets called to Rome and made dictator to save the city, and then resigns the day he finishes, he resigns. And so this is why, so Washington resigns his military commission twice, and then resigns the presidency after 2 terms. His whole thing is like, you're supposed to sort of be of service, do the thing, and then leave. And that precedent obviously then lasts for 250 years till one guy can't do it. But I think you'll really like those two. So Cato is like the Roman Stoic who most embodies Stoicism, and then Cincinnatus is probably not real, is sort of this mythical figure, but that's the big thing. It's like the idea that you do it and then you walk away.
Right, because people wanted Washington to be king.
Yeah, and
can I?
Yeah, set it down. Yeah, King George goes like, so what's he going to do after? And he's like, I think he's going to return to his farm. And he goes, if he does that, he'll be the greatest man in the world. Like, just the idea of turning it down. I mean, it basically never happened before, except for Cincinnatus. And so he has this sort of understanding of the classical literature that he's kind of like play acting. Like he puts on a play, there's this famous play at that time called Cato that all the founders knew. It was like Hamilton, right? Like ironically, like they just all knew this play. And so a bunch of the line, like, so when he resigns this commission, people knew he was play acting Cincinnatus. When like they go like, give me liberty or give me death, that's a line from that play. And so it's like, I regret I have but one life to give to my country. These are lines from the play and so people understood the illusion of what's happened, the illusions that he's making, because they all had read the same books, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else do I think?
So let me ask that.
Yes.
Let me ask that again. Washington was obsessed with Cincinnatus, right?
Yes, Cincinnatus.
Cut it that way.
Yes, you're the expert. I'm trying to think what else I could give.
This is great. I mean,
I usually just try to pick a few, and then I
love John Ronson.
Yeah, he's great.
This
you did a public shaming.
This book, he was a producer on it.
Oh,
it was inspired by his book.
Interesting. No, I loved that book.
Heart of the Sea, the real Moby Dick story.
Yeah, we were talking Moby Dick. Trying to think what else you would like. What are you reading lately, other than Dale Carnegie?
I read The Happiness Hypothesis, Jonathan Haidt.
He was just here.
Great.
He was just here. He's
For
great.
Anxious Generation?
Yes. And he teaches a class that he has a bunch of Stoicism in the class that he teaches. He gave me like the syllabus. I was like, why didn't I get to take this class? This is incredible.
He's amazing. I've bought Happiness Hypothesis. What I love about Happiness Hypothesis is his tracking of the metaphors of the way we control our animal, our brain, right? There's the Buddha's man on top of the elephant. Then there's Plato's charioteer with kind of the noble horse,
let me see. Sorry, that's the image on. So we were talking about temperance. Where is this one? So like, as I'm doing the series on the cardinal virtues. So like. One version, I have it as a tattoo, but one version of temperance is like someone watering down wine, which I love because we think of temperance as like abstinence, but it wasn't. It was like moderating things. But yeah, the image of the charioteer I love, because you think about how hard it would be to go very fast in a chariot. And it's like the skill that you have to have of like the horse and the what do they call them? I guess it's the chariot. But like, yeah, the expertise of all that is like incredible.
Right. So he had the 2 horses.
Yes.
One horse is like the noble horse, and one horse is like the stout, like the lazy or like wayward horse.
Yeah.
And then Freud uses the horse and buggy metaphor, which is basically the driver is the ego, the horse is it's one horse now, is the id, and then the superego is the driver's father in the back seat, like saying, no, you should do it this way, like backseat driving.
Yeah. That's amazing.
No, yeah, and then it's like the man at the computer, basically. But Haidt likes to favor the man and the elephant, like the trainer.
Yes.
The trainer and the elephant, which is really kind of helpful. But it's also like his whole point is like, look, genetically, your happiness thermostat is like set for you, and like you only have so much range to change it, and that's your elephant. Like your elephant's your elephant.
Right. You're not going to turn it into something it's not.
And by the way, to train that elephant, you need to use essentially the Stoic principles, but over time.
Yes.
It's like it takes time to train an elephant. You can't just like learn about it in the abstract. Like it needs to be put into practice and like studied, but also experienced.
There's a book I think you might like called, let me see if we have it.
I have Discipline as Destiny, so I'm going to put it back.
Thank you. I don't know if we have Philosophy as a Way of Life. We should.
This is a classic.
Of course.
Obviously.
But there's this guy, he's a French philosopher, his name's Pierre Hadot. He did a translation of Meditations. That's good, but he has this book called Philosophy as a Way of Life. And basically his argument is like, these aren't like these things that you learn. Like we read Mark Aurelius' Meditations and go, oh, he wrote this book. As opposed to Mark Aurelius was writing this book.
Right.
Like it's this ongoing practice. Like in closer to Buddhism where you're like, no, meditating is this thing that you are doing so it's this ongoing process and these series of exercises that you change and they change along with you as you evolve. Not like, oh, I read Aristotle when I was in college, so now I am wise.
But this goes back to what we were talking about biting off.
Yes.
Yes. In fact, these documentaries, this happiness one in particular, it's like, it's how I internalize.
Yes.
I'm learning these things, but like, because I need to pore over it every day and because I need to listen to these interviews and like these sound bites get like lodged in my brain because I have to repeat them so much to myself, it goes in.
Yeah, the person who's doing the press about it after is different than the person who had the idea, and then is different than the person who was doing the interviews, because you're writing the book because you wanted to learn the thing and live in the world, and then it's this kind of thing that ideally like who you are going to be in relation to the ideas in the doc 10 years from now or 20 years from now should be also fundamentally different because they'll have had time to seep in other than just like you spent a lot of time with them.
Well, right. Well, the time to seep in is the training of the elephant.
Yes.
It's like just reading a book quickly, consuming a book quickly might like leave you with one or two gems, but reading it multiple times, reading it like
writing your own version of it.
I'm sure Marcus Aurelius is writing Meditations because like he's synthesizing
That's exactly
these things. And the writing of them is just another level of the kind of the practice.
Well, that's what's weird. So when I did this book called Lives of the Stoics, where I did like I looked at them as people. And one of the things when I had to go back and read a lot of the more obscure Stoics that I hadn't read, that are much more difficult to read, I realized I was recognizing things in Meditations. So I realized, oh, he's not even being original here. This is him repeating something that he heard. So this is the culmination of his study of it over the course of a life.
And Ben Franklin, by the way, does the same thing. Like his copybooks.
Yes.
He would take a virtue.
Yes.
And like he put a little calendar and he's like, how well did I do today on this virtue?
Yeah, and so it's like not only not original, that was never the point. He was like, this is the prompt I'm picking for the day. And I'm just going to be thinking about it and talking about it, and it's just this kind of ongoing like lifetime study, rumination, the way that like a guitarist has just been playing the same lick just over and over and over again until eventually it becomes either part of them or a song comes from it.
But we are like, we kind of see this a little bit as like a waste of time. Like, no, read the book, then read another one, then read another one.
Yes. What do you mean you're reading the same book 30 times? Yeah,
right.
Of course.
No, because it takes time for things to go in. To Haidt's metaphor point, like the elephant doesn't learn by you telling it a command once. Simon, my dachshund, By the way,
learn it all.
I'm doing the kind of the psychology episode where I'm going to be talking about this. I should probably interview you for it.
All right.
Great.
I think
I have that.
I think I have a. We used to have a giant portrait of my dog somewhere. Do you know where it is, Dawson?
I think it's right back there. Yeah. Right.
Oh, here it is. See? Oh yeah.
Oh, he's beautiful. He was a red. This is the back room.
This is. We haven't quite figured out what to do with this spot yet. So this is a Mexican restaurant. It was originally like a general store from like 100 years ago. But so this was the kitchen in there. So this is where the orders would come up.
Amazing.
And then this was the back patio where you could eat. So this was kind of like flow through space.
You could turn this into like the rare editions room.
Yeah, we're gonna turn this more into bookstore space.
This was the kitchen.
And then this was like refrigerator, dishwashing, whatever. And then there were two restaurants together. So we're taking over this space.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
it'll probably be
The record store?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, this is the dream.
Yeah. If you want to listen to music, this is not the ideal format.
I disagree. I'm big on vinyl.
But do you listen to vinyl more than you listen
Yes.
But it's not ideal in the sense that you're not at your house 90% of the time. That's what I mean. So I'm saying, like, if you're looking for raw music, you're not looking for vinyl. You're coming to vinyl because you want the experience. You're trying to slow it down. It's this whole bigger thing than just music. Like, the same is true for books. If you want a specific book, you do not come to an independent bookstore. You buy it and it's at your house in one day. You are coming to a bookstore because you want to look for books.
The experience
and you want to buy a bunch of books.
Of browsing.
You'll probably read 30% of the ones you buy, but you understand it's a lottery ticket experience.
Right.
You know, like that's the whole thing they're after.
Well, it's like, I feel like there's something profound about like the browsing experience in vivo that's being lost, right?
Yes.
It's like even with like mates, like we're so set on, I'm just going to make the right decision.
Well, and then like I'll give you an example. Like so for books, they like the whole publishing experience is designed around you seeing the book on the shelf and going, oh, what's this? You know, whatever. Like so that's why there's blurbs on there's all stuff. But it's like 90% of the time now Amazon's literally 90% in sales. By the time someone is reading the blurbs on the book, they've already purchased it.
Right.
This is irrelevant, right? So like you're designing a cover to pop on a shelf, but most of the time you're going to see it on the screen. And so like the whole experience is designed around a minority of the interaction, but there's so much sort of mythology and like magic to it that you're not actually thinking about the context in which people are going to engage with what you're doing.
Well, the same thing with movies, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many aspects of the process of making them that already feel atavistic, like they're vestiges of a convention that no longer.
Yeah, I watched your documentary on my phone while I was putting my.
But it's designed. My documentary is designed for like the modern,
it's 20 minutes.
The modern day, as opposed to. But like when you make a feature, like I came from web filmmaking, and then I've made features, and I'm like, why are we doing it this way?
Right.
Like this doesn't make sense. Like why are we?
Will actually appreciate this because they won't even experience.
Right, we're wasting money and resources on something that doesn't matter anymore.
Create this altar of how it was once done.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it's like, God bless you for insisting on this level of, cleaning, this OCD level of perfecting things. But like, frankly.
Right. It's actually, if it's preventing you from making more stuff, then it's not actually like respecting the muses.
Totally.
Interesting.
I mean, we didn't get into the YouTube of it all.
Yeah.
And what's cool now that's different than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, is that you can now basically make a movie the way you would write a book.
Yes. Well, the nice part about making a book is like, people are going to see it. because like there's no universe in which it cannot be published anymore. But you're
also doing it. You're like you have the writer, the artist, the painter. They have a one-to-one relationship with their work.
You don't need
the filmmaker until 20 years ago needed a lot of money and a lot of people,
tens of millions of dollars to do a doc. Yeah.
And so now you're with people like Casey, you're seeing the very beginning of the filmmaker as writer.
Yes.
In this one-to-one relationship. And I think that's like really exciting and breeds a whole new kind of format.
Not needing the distribution to, you can go to an audience without not only did it cost a bunch of money to make films, but then it was like, all these people give you thumbs up or thumbs down of whether it will ever be seen by a single human being.
Right.
Whereas like a book, they just make more of them, there's more shelf space. And then, it is cool just being able to go like, I'm going to put this in front of my audience. And if they like it, it'll do great. And if they don't, they're the thumbs up, thumbs down.
That's democracy.
Yeah, of course.
Look at all this.
I don't know where she put this. Jess, do we have any copies of the new one?
Yeah.
Oh. This is literally the first box that I have opened.
Wow. Wow.
So like, basically, it's funny, it's similar arcs in our stuff. So the first chapter is about me. Like, how do you become, like, so Justice says, like, what is your internal code, like what you do and what you don't do, and then the second is we, so how do we relate to other people, and then the third, sort of the highest plane, is like this idea that everyone is the same. So it's not just like, oh, I'm of service, I'm doing something, but when you sort of fuse them all together, that's where you get like a Gandhi, where he sort of respects no distinctions between any of the religious traditions. He's willing to lay down his life for, there's this, I think there's, first off, it's the becoming less selfish is part one, or is the first part, but then there's this sort of higher plane where you see these sort of great figures from history do like incredible feats of greatness and decency and whatever. That's the arc of the book, is going from, for me at least, was the idea of going from like selfish stoicism to this like, it's not a recipe for being a better sociopath, which I think sometimes people think it is. Yeah, that exact, where the circles, you're like pulling the circles inwards, that's the idea. So the storm before the storm is like, you think, Julius Caesar just wakes up one day and overthrows the Roman Republic, which of course isn't how anything works. So it's about the 100 years preceding that. And so it ends with him crossing the
frog and the boiling.
Yeah, like so the first time a mob gets angry and like, storms the Senate and tears out someone that they hate. The first sort of series of compromise. So it's like all these things leading up to it, and the breakdown and the collapse of the norms.
Interesting.
That leads up to it. It's fucking
especially
terrifying.
in now,
it's fucking terrifying
because of art, the context of now.
Yes, exactly. I read a lot. It's sort of my job. You can't write without reading. For almost 15 years now, once a month, I send out an email with my favorite book recommendations for that month. Books that I've been reading, books that I've been going through, books that changed my life, that inspired me, that I think connect to what's happening in the world. And you can sign up right now at ryanholiday.net/reading list.